It's no surprise that unlike feeding your child, mental health is important. Throughout the many aspects of mental health, we're going to be talking about psychological conditions such as depression and anxiety, and how there's a crisis regarding such widespread conditions. Before we address the problems themselves, I'm going to show things that are much more commonly shown. Coping mechanisms. The four coping mechanisms that I'm talking about today are humor, self-harm, substance abuse, and isolation. Humor is by far one of the most common coping mechanisms. People use it to master true feelings of pain, anger, or discomfort, which is exactly why I'm attempting comedy in this final project. As an example, people would use wolves to unironically describe who they are on the inside. Some found this funny, then started using the same sort of templates as satire, mocking those who were trying to relate to the wolves. This joke, gaining popularity online, eventually was something known by everyone, eventually becoming overused and derivative. This leads me to my first point. Y'all not that funny. Humor knows almost no boundaries, but there's easily hateable people who try to ban certain jokes, then continue and try to be funny with their limited PG-13 sense of humor. This second point is for those who do exactly what I just said. Y'all don't know how to use it right. Self-harm is another highly common form of coping, whether it be to feel in control of something, or just to distract and let off steam. Self-harm is often used as a distraction from the problem at hand. Forms of self-harm include, but are not limited to, cutting, burning, picking a soft tissue, punching the wall, not eating, overeating, overworking yourself, and substance abuse. Substance abuse, being its own cute little subgenre of self-harm, is still extremely broad. Alcohol, the most common substance to abuse, is highly normalized, which is why it is often overlooked, unlike all the other substances.
You only arrest for the purpose of dealing with a felony that's committed, and I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
Substance abuse is often the final step, or second to final step to death due to mental health issues. Although drugs and addiction to them can be fatal, isolation is the final step to dying to your own mind. Isolation, although often a side effect of other coping mechanisms, is also a coping mechanism itself for many. Isolation has been found to augment depression, anxiety, raise levels of stress, impede sleep, overall harming the body as a whole. Poor mental health is a lot more prevalent than it should be, with 3.8% of the population experiencing depression, 4% having an anxiety disorder of some sort, and 1.6% of the population having BPD. Common causes for these treatable mental health disorders include, but are not limited to, environmental factors, hormonal factors, social factors, and your favorite football team deciding to throw the ball on the 1-yard line instead of running it, causing the loss of a Super Bowl. Common effects of poor mental health are harder everyday life, decreased productivity, decreased physical health, unhealthy coping mechanisms, and even suicide.
Kurt Cobain POV.
Usually it's when symptoms like these that people turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms, like isolation or alcoholism. Ways to improve or prevent mental health issues include, but are not limited to, a healthier diet, physical activity, contact with sunlight, alcohol, therapy, and more alcohol. Moving on to why your mental health is important. Your mental health is important because you're important. You matter. Even in the grand scheme of things where we are so insignificant compared to the greatness of the cosmos, you've played a significant role in someone else's life. You're loved. You have the capability to find meaning again, even when it feels like everything has gone bad, giving life a sour taste you can't get rid of. You have the ability to restart. We all do bad things, but that doesn't make us bad people. Allowing yourself to accept that will give you the wisdom to change and persevere under pressure, forming you into a better version of who you were. With that said, sometimes you can try absolutely everything and still fail. That's not your fault. That's just life. You'll always hear people saying how they aren't trying because nothing matters, but I think they're just coping with the fact that they're losers that are afraid to fail. The fact that nothing matters should be all the reason to try harder to become what you can be, because even if you fail, it's not like it would have mattered in the first place.